Yo, what's shaking, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Monday Overreaction Show here on the Orange Bloods Texas Football YouTube channel. I'm Geoff Ketchum. That is Anwar Richardson, and this show is brought to you by the amazing folks at RogueShop.com. It is now, it's like the longtime standing sponsor of the Monday Overreaction Show. It's one of our favorite products, whether it's gummies, cartridges, the salve that you put on your body for your aches and pains in your joints. There's a little bit of everything at RogueShop.com. They've got the products that will make you feel better in a number of different ways. I don't know about you, Anwar, but I participated in a variety of Rogue products over the weekend, whether it was just getting me through the day or, sleeping at night. Rogue is there for me weirdly 24 hours a day. Use your Orange Bloods promo. Let them take care of you as well. Onward, it's a Monday Overreaction, which means everybody needs to leave their comments in the leave your overreactions from the weekend in the comments section. Like the video, subscribe to it, do all that stuff. I'm curious. We just literally said like 2 minutes ago, we haven't talked to each other about our overreactions. And I was like, stop, don't say a word. I want to hear your big Monday overreaction. Get it started today.
Yeah, I think the beauty of our show is that, you've done TV, I've done TV before, and there's always like this planning and everyone kind of knows what the other person's going to say. And we don't do that. And so, which makes it really interesting because you get live reaction. Here's my big overreaction on a Monday, Catch. Okay.
I'm ready.
If 2 weeks from now,
yes,
we hear, this is after the spring game, we've heard that Ochaun Mathis has committed to the University of Texas. I think he's the final component needed for this team to compete for a Big 12 championship this season. I think if we hear, I told you my overreaction, if we hear Ochaun Mathis is throwing up a hook'em sign, and he is ready, locked and loaded to come to the 40 acres, I will tell you he's the final component, the missing component that this team needs to compete for a Big 12 championship this season. There, I said it. I'll talk some more. So here's the reason why.
Respond.
If you're on Orange Bloods and you should be, and you're watching this video, it's way later than you should be. So you need to sign up for Orange Bloods because you
had us literally. We both had columns out in the last 26 hours.
Yes,
you could have read a lot of the more refined, well put together, like synopsis of a lot of the things that we'll say. But go ahead.
But one thing is on Orange Bloods right now is that, clearly we know Ochaun had visited Nebraska over this weekend. We saw videos and things that he posted over there, but he will be visiting the University of Texas during the spring game, Catch. I had reported that this morning that on the 23rd, he will be taking his official visit. I think that bodes well, Catch, for Texas. You always want to be the last one. You always want to be the very last taste in someone's mouth, especially as relates to recruiting. I think this bodes well for Texas to give them the last chance to make that final impression. And if he's a guy, Catch, the one thing for me that's missing from this defense is a pass rush. It's the one thing that you look at and say, and okay, maybe there's more, but that's the biggest area of concern for me. It was looking at this season last year and seeing opposing quarterbacks having way too much time to just operate in the pocket, not having to speed up their clock at all. It just seemed like they were allowed to be comfortable. And then you get a proven pass rusher, a guy that we know we've seen doing in the Big 12, right? So a lot of times what we see Catch in the transfer portal is you see guys come in the transfer portal and they're like backups, situational players. And you're hoping that maybe change of scenery means something different. And oftentimes, Catch, no, it doesn't. It doesn't usually make a huge difference. We've seen that here at Texas quite often. But if you bring in a proven guy who checks a lot of the boxes and say, okay, get on this defensive line and go ahead and attack the passer, attack the quarterback, and be a disruptive force that he is, Catch, that instantly improves his defense because that's the one thing we know they don't have at this moment. You add that in, Catch, I think it's a game changer.
It's definitely a defense changer. There's no question that, and look, to some degree, I'm like 50% with you. I can't lie. And it'll be one of the great things about us doing a video is that there are just times when we aren't on the same page. And sometimes we are on the same page. Mathis upgrades the defense significantly in improving its biggest defensive weakness. I don't know that I can say that the edge rusher spot is a bigger concern of mine than the offensive line concern. They're kind of equal. So it definitely aids one. It takes a plus player. I don't know that he's a total game changer. He's a really good player. He's a plus player, but he's also a guy that if he had the kind of season a year ago. So he's one of these guys, great season in 2020, a little bit of a down season in 2021. Had he had the season in 2021 that he had in 2020, he's probably getting ready for the NFL draft right now. So this is a guy that is transferring in hopes of boosting his NFL draft prospects. And I think he can do that at Texas. And I think he makes Texas a better football team. Do I think he gets them over the line? Man, I can't say that. And you know what? I can sit here and I can nitpick the offensive line, and that to me is a real concern. I mean, there's no getting around the fact they are gambling that the freshmen, when they arrive, will, because Texas A&M a year ago put 2 true freshmen on its offensive line, and it worked out for them. And a couple of those guys were like big-time guys, right? Like they had a 5-star up front. He comes in, plays like a 5-star, and you're like, hey, anybody could do it. Texas A&M did it. They also had like some NFL dudes around those true freshmen that helped the true freshmen look a lot better when you're surrounded by guys that are dudes. And, I don't want to go on a deep dive of the Texas offensive line. It's Monday. Maybe we don't need to do that. But like that is an Achilles heel that I think can keep a team from being championship quality. I worry about this team at linebacker still. I worry about the secondary a little bit. It's a little bothersome to me that I never hear that Ochaun Jamison is tearing it up in practice. He's going to start this year. And he didn't have a great year a year ago. You look at the other cornerback spot, the nickel slot, like these are guys that are not quite NFL ready players. I just think that I don't know about this defense. I don't know about the offense. There's talent on this team. Can I give you my Monday overreaction, though? My own biggest Monday overreaction that really plays into my inability to completely go all in with you on not Texas winning the Big 12 with Ochaun Mathis, but Texas becoming a Big 12 challenging team with Ochaun Mathis. I thought about this team a lot over the weekend and last season. And I felt myself diving through box scores of games from last year. I'm looking at the Baylor game, and Texas goes into the fourth quarter with an 8-point lead. They run the ball 3 times with their running backs, and they can't hold the lead because they can't run the ball when it matters most. And these are like things that determine whether you're really good or average or below average. Right. And as I'm going through these box scores last week, it occurred to me, and everybody forgive me for saying a curse word in the middle of today's Overreaction Monday Overreaction show.
Okay, Easter's coming up soon. You have some time for forgiveness.
The coaches on this staff did such a shitty job last year. Like that, I came away from the weekend and I'm realizing that 5 months ago, this staff got an F. And this staff took over a program that was winning games at a 70% clip And that was enough to get a coach fired. And they went backwards and had one of the worst seasons in the history of Texas football and set a new standard for losses in a row, and like nearly had a mutiny at midseason, came out of it without a quarterback answer, without offensive line answers, with no defensive answers, just questions all over the place. As a staff, they did a terrible job last year. And it's one of the things that I wrote about in my 10 thoughts from the weekend, my lead this weekend. And again, shout out to orangebloods.com. Go check out the website. It's really where you need to be. But as I wrote in that column, part of what this team needs this season is for this staff to perform way better than they did a year ago. And it really extends all over the field. This wasn't a team that at the end of the year had a bunch of all-conference players at positions. It might give Stan Drayton an attaboy for the running back room, and Bijan and Roschon and Keelan and all. He ain't here anymore. So to me, I look at this staff and I ask myself, starting with the head coach, did he do a good job last year? No. I mean, no offense to any of the coaches on the staff watching this video and taking, like, flinching at, did he say we did a shitty job last year? You guys went 5-7. It's almost impossible not to make a bowl game in 2021, and yet they found a way to pull that off, Charlie Strong style. So the head coach had a bad year, right up until the point where he was losing players in the locker room and challenging them after practice, and guys are putting videos of their coaches up on social media. Like, it was a little, he had coaches with monkey gate and partying after losses. Like, there was a lot of shit that went on last year that just, it was an F. Then I look at the coordinators, and I wouldn't give Sark, the offensive coordinator, an F from last year, but he had a disaster at the quarterback position where the only thing that we said 12 months ago he had to do in 2021 was come out of this season with the quarterback situation answered. And by the end of the year, there are more questions than answers. You look at the defensive side of the ball, and Kwiatkowski had such a bad year that there are already people speculating that Gary Patterson will take his job by, some people think, I saw someone on Orange Bloods this weekend suggest, by week 3 of this season. So that's the job they did a year ago. The thing is, this staff's got a bunch of guys that have had a lot of success. Sarkisian clearly has had a lot of success, hence he got the job. Kyle Flood has had a lot of success. There's a reason why he's here. Brennan Marion, new guy. There's a reason why he's here. Kwiatkowski was kind of regarded as a defensive mastermind at UW. And then he came to Texas and he had maybe the worst season he's ever had as a defensive coordinator. So my overreaction on this Monday was, my God, this staff didn't do a good job last year, but man, it leaves a lot of room for improvement. They didn't go 5-7, and we were like, woo, those coaches squeezed every drop out of the turnip to get to 5-7. Far from it. So if they just take moderate steps forward in terms of production as a staff, I think this team's getting to 7 or 8 wins. But I think this staff will have to do an elite job to get this program to the territory that you're talking about. And I think that's a question mark for this group. I have no doubts that this is a talented staff that's going to do a better job this year than last year. But they were so bad last year. It was such a bad season that I do have question marks about whether or not they're truly elite. I mean, I think Sark's going to get the talent eventually in this program that puts it in a position to do the things that you were talking about. My question marks after year 1 are whether or not he as a coach has the chops to get it done. Go do it. Because if he does it, this team and this program take off. It's that simple. If the real version of himself is closer to last season than elite levels of performance, then it's, this will ultimately not prove to be a success. Simple as that.
Well, okay, that's a lot to unpack.
I know. I had to pour it out. I'm good now.
Yeah, you got it out. And that's a concern from my really exciting Ochaun Mathis take. But it's okay. We'll flow with it. I'm going to, the thing is, Ketch, the talent is there. Okay. And I know we do recruiting rankings and, always know where I stand on things like that. But the talent, there's enough talent. I'm not talking about SEC talent. Let's talk about Big 12 talent. Like Texas fans always want to talk about where it ranks against, Alabama and Georgia and all these other programs, Clemson, from a talent perspective. Don't worry about that. Let's talk about from a talent perspective versus Oklahoma State or the TCUs of the world or Baylor's, anybody else. Shit, Kansas. Okay. The talent is there. So we can't, Kansas blew up the talent conversation for me ever again. I didn't
when you said Kansas, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like you had to have a really disappointing performance level to get to a place where Kansas happens.
Yes. And we've seen it happen twice since over the last, several years. So the talent's there. And I will agree with you. The coaching has to be better. And then let's move and put this whole thing in, because you talked about what you wrote a little bit. What I wrote too, Ketch, was the Moro Jomo quote that, got a little bit play and was able to highlight that. And then it really starts to question, like, what is really going on with Texas? Like, as we start figuring out what's the issue, for those who may have missed it, Moro Jomo, defensive tackle here at the University of Texas, basically he was doing an interview last week. And by the way, props to Moro for keeping it a buck.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up, by the way.
Okay.
Because when that happened, we didn't record a video. I had some personal stuff that took me out of videos at the end of the week. I'm so glad you're bringing this up because I really have some thoughts on this.
Okay. So, he, first of all, props for keeping it a buck. Usually Texas wants the players to kind of just read from a prompter all the, great things, stay away from anything that headlines, controversial, all that. That's the goal. When
do you think we'll get Morrow again?
Pro day. Pro day. He will be shut down, never to be heard from again. Bianco's going to go down this list and be like, he's going to get to the M's and like, nope, he's crossed out.
Devondre Sweat will fill in that spot next time.
And by the way, John, I'm just messing with you. But he said something. I'll read the quote, okay? When he was asked about, the winning in the culture, and he goes, man, I mean, it's hard. He goes, they're 18 to 22-year-olds that want to chase women, want to chase money, want to chase alcohol, and they don't see the future. They're very distracted by what's in front of them. It's such a hard thing, especially guys that haven't been in a winning culture. It's why it's very easy for a lot of these powerhouses to keep going because it's established. So the new guys just come in and they're just like, this is how we do it, and this is what we do. But it's so much more difficult at Texas. They always talk about coming in here and changing stuff. Coming here and changing stuff, it's ingrained. You're uprooting 10 years of shit. It's just been let go and go by because they're more worried about being on 6th Street than balling and making $50 million. It's crazy as hell, and I don't know why. He spoke to, Ketch, a culture issue. It's in my point, and we'll get to the coaches in a second. What's fascinating, what continues to happen, and we keep it a buck. This is like, one of the things I wrote in my column, like, all jokes aside, all baking cake jokes aside, Charlie Strong wasn't a bad coach before he got hired here. And I don't think overall Charlie is a bad coach. There's some things that made him look bad, but Charlie came in here trying to change the culture around. Can't you remember? He was kicking everybody off the team. I think you had a column about him being like crazy Joe Clark. when he first got here, right? I think you made that comparison. And
Charlie was doing me Crazy Joe. Now they can call me Batman.
You did that, and he tried, and it didn't happen. Tom Herman came in, and he tried to do the whole culture change. Tom Herman's highly decorated, and when he tried to do it, Catch, people complained. People complained, man, he's so mean. Catch, we had parents going on social media complaining. We had parents going on radio shows complaining that he was too mean. He was doing too many things that just wasn't nice. There was articles written that, he walked past someone in the hallway. He didn't say hello. And everyone's like, man, this guy's too much of a hard ass. Remember, the first thing was sit the F up in the meeting. And everyone's like, man, he's too hard. We don't like that. And so, so he gets run out. And then we bring in Sark, who is more of a player's coach. He comes in, fresh off a national title, Catch, fresh off a natty. And he comes in here and 5 wins happens. And Morrow's saying, man, this is a culture thing. And so when you start talking about the coaches, I do agree with you. Their job ultimately is to change the culture. I 100%. I'm going to turn the floor back over to you. Just give me like 15 seconds.
I did a diatribe earlier. It's
their job is to change. Their job is to change the culture. That's what they're ultimately hired and getting paid. To the point you pointed out, there's 2 coaches on the staff getting paid, over 7 figures a year. So assistant coaches, head coaches making good money, right? So this is what you're here for. This is what you're hired for. But it seems to be, Catch, that it's just not as simplistic as X's and O's. Bringing in 4 stars and 5 stars. There seems to be a cultural thing where guys get to Texas and they feel like they made it. And last thing I'm going to say on this, Catch, if you think it's tough now, NIL is telling guys you've made it. We've told a whole group of offensive linemen that they got 50 G's just for showing up. How do you just go ahead and get rid of that? If you already think it's a country club culture, if you already think that someone was making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches back in the day and just babying the kids, there's something deeper that seems to be going on, Catch.
My first response when Moro Ajomo made those remarks, full transparency, I really like Moro Ajomo. I kind of feel like I need friends like Moro. Like, before even these sets of comments, he's just generally thought of as a good dude, smart dude, and, I don't know that I have enough Moro Ajomos in my life. So I want to give him a huge compliment before we get too deep into this. I just like him as a person.
Yes.
My first reaction, though, was less about him. And it was, those movies where like there's a nuclear facility and something goes wrong in the nuclear facility and there's an alarm that goes off and it's like, it's real loud. Mm-hmm. It's like loud enough and there's like red sirens going around. It's to let everybody know, like, holy shit, the nuclear plant is in trouble. Like that kind of alarm. That's what happened in my head. That noise and like a siren going off in my head. Because what he described was something that's broken, not something that's fixed. Right?
Mm-hmm, that's fair.
They're not 12-0 or 11-1, and Moro Ajomo is reflecting on, well, now that we've cleared the troubles, we can really talk about them, right? One day that will happen. Texas will get over the hump, and then everybody's going to come out of the woodwork and start telling stories about, well, now that we're clear of it, let's talk about how bad it really was. He described a program that's still broken. And coming off of a 5-7 year, that's completely fair. It screams of the work that Steve Sarkisian and the staff have to do, like still. And it goes to what we were talking about earlier, right? Like it was kind of chaotic at times last season. You want to know how videos of coaches end up in social media after losses, and, you know, players are arguing with coaches and quitting the team, and maybe not quitting the team, but then quitting the team. You know how that shit happens? Broke. You're broke. You're broken. I wonder, and this isn't really an indictment of Steve Sarkisian, because what he was supposed to be is the kind of head coach that could take very good to great. And in reality, he didn't get very good. No offense to Tom Herman, who I think did an underrated job, maybe in hindsight, in being able to get this, and to get to a Big 12 championship and win a Sugar Bowl and win 70% of his games with a broken program. What's needed is somebody who can come in and fix something that's broken. And a year ago, this goes to the point that I was just making about the staff failing in year one. I don't think they understood the task. Now, maybe they do now. And then the questions become, is this the right kind of staff to fix something that's broken? I don't think all coaches are made the same. You know, some coaches can fix. Dave Aranda fixed something that was broken. But maybe Dave Aranda doesn't take over a 10-win program and get it to 11 or 12 the next way because he's the difference between very good becoming elite. And I just have questions. I don't have opinions, really. Like, I can't say whether or not yes or no, I think they're going to do it. I just have questions about whether or not they can do it, because the biggest questions of all haven't been answered. And what Ochaun didn't say in any of those comments were, but this staff showed up and changed everything. And now all of the dysfunction is gone. What he described was, I'm an older guy kind of frustrated because this is what we're dealing with. And again, this coaching staff has to do a great job this year. If they do good, they will be better. But this is no, to me, no Ochaun Mathis. Because, God, Ochaun is describing not we're a pass rusher away from being great, but we're a culture away from truly getting it. I don't know. I just don't know where. I don't know what to think. Again, I don't have any hyperbole to spew out. It just leaves me dumbfounded.